This is Drink Talk, where we try to solve the world's problems, one drink at a time. This week we'll be having some Clown Shoes beer and discussing sexual harassment. We are your hosts, Brian and Britt, and returning guest host, Sister Erika.
Hey, glad you could make it, sister.
Thank you guys for having me back.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
Kind of a weird topic to have you back on.
I know.
Hey,
Yeah.
I'm glad to have your side of view on this one.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I was a little hesitant when you guys brought it up, but I figured from a female perspective, I hope I can give a little bit of insight.
Yeah, I told Britt if we're gonna do sexual harassment, then we can't have a bunch of dudes drinking beer talking sexual harassment.
No.
I mean, bring in your sister, because yeah.
Well, we've been hearing a lot about this in the news lately, and we try to touch on stuff that's current events. Well, we kind of go off on other tangents on other things, but we try to stay relatively current. And it was kind of funny. We were having dinner for my birthday on Tuesday, and I started bringing it up and talking about it. And Mom's like,
immediately got shot down.
Yeah, she's like, I'm like, that's the problem. No one's talking about it.
Yep.
She's like, not in front of the kids. I'm like, all the kids are over there. They're not.
But they need to understand.
They need to
at
understand
a certain age what that is.
Yeah.
As well, so they're aware of it.
I was. Not only is this a difficult topic, but I was hesitant from the standpoint of it's all over the news. So it's like, do we need another? Apparently we do, because it's all over. But we're gonna
see, and I don't watch the news.
Which is
the only news that I get is if it pops up on my news feed on Facebook, and then that's to the point where it's like, is this true news?
I was gonna say,
or is this not? So then I just don't even bother to read it half the time. I mean, I see comments here and there or headlines of things, but it's very rare that I actually go in and try to learn about what it is that's actually going on, just because I try to keep that negativity out.
I've stopped watching the news, like, local stations and all that
Years
stuff.
ago.
But I do get my news from the internet from multiple different sources, so you can kind of cross-check and, try and limit the amount of fake news.
Which most people don't do, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, before we get too far into the topic, we need to start with our drink of choice here.
Yeah, so
I noticed that on the intro that you said that we're just going to be drinking Clown Shoes. I've also got a few other things.
Yeah, I didn't know what else you brought, so
sorry, no worries. We'll just take it as it is. But
as soon as I started doing the intro, I'm like, crap, I didn't ask him what other beers he had, so I'll just go with the one that's in front of me.
That's all you're drinking.
Yeah, exactly.
Cassie says, hello, Erika.
Hi, Cassie.
So right now we're drinking on the Clown Shoes beer. It's out of
Ipswich,
Massachusetts, which is a mouthful to say there. This is their Josh the Guave King. And it is a double IPA. I don't know what the percentage is on it. I don't know if it had that on that. 8%. 8%. But the unique thing I like about this drink is it looks like the Muddy Missouri.
It looks horrible.
It's very, it all falls to the bottom.
Oh, look at the bottom there. Look at that.
Layer of stuff it looks like you just poured like yeast in it or something.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Is it?
It's that or it's the agave. One of the two.
Guava.
Yeah.
Guava, my fault.
It looks like there's a bunch of pulp and yeast.
Definitely unfiltered.
Yeah, definitely unfiltered beer. So let's start with that.
Cheers. I'm not drinking this. More power to you guys, though.
Oh yeah, that's
I like that.
It's a different citrusy. It's more of a mellow citrus than It's
now we've had Clown Shoes on the show before.
Oh yeah, we have.
And this by far is my favorite so far.
Smells like orange.
I was drinking on this.
It's like a mellow. It's more like a mandarin orange citrus than like an actual orange citrus.
I was drinking on this. I think it's 2 nights ago. But out of all the beers that I've had from them so far, which they've all been fairly good, this one by far is the best I've had so far.
It just looks,
when you pour it out, it looks like curdled milk.
Hold it up to the camera.
You almost don't want to drink this in a clear glass because it's so. Yeah, I don't know if it'll input. Yeah, it's kind of.
You really, I don't know. Can't tell.
It's got a lot of floaties, and if you've had like heavy pulp orange juice, very similar.
Well, and that's why I was asking you guys if you could feel it when you drank it.
It's not as like the pulp in orange juice. You can feel that's like a heavier, gritty. This there's no texture to this. This is
falls apart. Now, when it gets down to the very bottom, I don't know about drinking that part, but we'll see.
Well, yeah, we'll see.
I double dog dare you.
Well, like I said, I just had it 2 days ago, and I dumped that last little bit out. I was like, that might be a little too rich for my blood.
Yeah.
Man dare. Is that harassment?
Ooh. Right?
Yeah, so that gets into the like the microaggressions and all that stuff. So why don't we just kind of jump into it a little bit? Do we talk about some of the ones that have been in the news so far to kind of refresh people's memory in case you haven't?
Well, it all really started with the Weinstein, Harvey Weinstein.
Well, it depends on how far back you want to go.
Well, yeah, I mean, let's just say this year in the news, he's big headlines.
Yeah, and he was not only an aggressor, but he was also like predatory. Like he had a whole system down.
Yeah, you'd take him to the hotel and had tell him to come up to his room for a private audition or whatever. And
there's a really good video out there. If anybody out there watches the Joe Rogan podcast, he interviewed a comic, a female comic, and she brought up one of the stories, and it's she says it way better than we could, but I would just search that, just do like Joe Rogan talks sexual harassment and look for that video. It's pretty good. I would recommend it. But yeah, he like Britt said, he was the largest and one of the most recent. Also, I don't even know what the count is now.
It's more of like on the lines of like a sociopath, like.
Well, yeah.
I mean, premeditated and everything.
Yeah,
where you
the
had
whole
a system.
Yeah, you have it. Not just you. You had lackeys helping you out and all this stuff. It was like he had a whole ring. So, did you see?
And I'm assuming it was just females, or was it?
Yes, just females.
Yeah.
Was there a certain like age range?
I think it's just so it was like the casting couch, but like he was the casting couch.
Oh.
Like I will further your career.
Sit on my lap.
Of course, that's like.
From
honestly, something that pretty much anybody would fall for.
Well, he was in a position of power over them, and it was like, you didn't get the part unless you came up to my room,
And that's kind of the, you hate to say it, but and we all know it's kind of the culture of Hollywood. I mean, you get ahead by who you know. Yeah. It's a big political game.
Yeah.
So you piss off the wrong person, shoot.
And there's been people that actually have called him out on it in years past, and they're being brought up to light like, oh, we should have listened to them. You know, don't go to Weinstein's room at 9:30 at night.
It's unfortunate that it comes to that where it takes X amount of people to finally have everyone listen,
right?
Rather than it just being that the one or two voices that are very passionate about it and like, why don't you believe me? Oh, well, 10 years later there's 50 other people all of a sudden,
right?
And then it gets to the point too in the political side of it is, well, now who do we believe and who do we not? And are some of these people just coming forward because everyone else is and you're
jumping ahead a little bit. No, you're fine. I want to talk about that because that's very valid, but there's a couple other things I wanted to bring up before that. Do you guys, because we're on the Harvey Weinstein thing, did you see the Uma Thurman tweet for Thanksgiving?
No, only because you showed me last night.
Yeah.
I didn't. Yeah. You didn't show me.
So she posted this tweet, and it was a picture of her, and it's from Kill Bill. And it said, Happy Thanksgiving. I am grateful today to be alive for all those I love and for all those who have had the courage to stand up for others. I said I was angry recently, and I have a few reasons. The hashtag Me Too. In case you couldn't tell by the look on my face, it's very important to take your time, to be fair, to be exact. So happy Thanksgiving to everyone, except for you, Harvey, and your wicked conspirators. I'm glad it's going slowly. You don't deserve a bullet.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah. So, and then there was another picture that was just recently published on Reddit that was Uma Thurman and Harvey Weinstein at the 2004 Kill Bill 2 premiere. And, you look at the... you can tell that she's very uncomfortable.
Uncomfortable.
Here. Yeah.
And he seems
her face
very
is
aggressive.
Yeah. Her face
He's
is
such a
bit.
creepy looking guy.
Yep.
He just looks like a sleazeball.
Right.
Yep.
Kind of one of those that just gets under your skin.
Yep. So who are the other people that you guys have heard of in the news?
Who's the senator?
Al Franken.
Al Franken.
And now he's up to 4 people against him. So I originally saw it with the picture on the USO tour where he was like fake grabbing the
well,
gals.
and with that said, a lot of people come out and said, it was a joke, we can forgive him. But now there's more people starting to come out. It's like, well, maybe we revisit this and talk about it.
Yeah.
I get a joke. I'm a jokester myself, but
there's a line though.
Yeah, there's a line you're going to cross, and the picture was taken with her.
She was
sleeping.
Asleep,
yeah, and it could have been a lot worse.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
You can look it up if you want to see it. Just
that's a lawsuit in itself.
The picture.
Yeah, she was not aware that the picture was being taken, and
but she was the one that
brought give her consent.
Yeah, well, she was the one that brought it to light. I don't know if she was the one that released it, but it came out at the same time that she made a statement about it. So, and I don't know if she made the statement because the picture came out, or if she made the statement because she saw the picture not online, but maybe somebody sent it to her and then she posted. I don't know how that transpired.
She was on a USO tour with him. He was being a comedian at that time. He was with
Saturday Night
Live. Anyway, there was a part in their act where they were supposed to kiss, and he needed to rehearse that a lot, and she didn't want to do it. And when it came time to do it actually during the show, he grabbed the back of her head and just went right for it. Now, she knew it was coming, but it was very forceful, and from then on out, they just didn't do that scene anymore.
Yeah, and he was from Saturday Night Live. It was if I've never been on the show, but if you've ever done improv comedy, it's just go with the flow kind of.
Right.
So and that's what I don't know how many years he spent on Saturday Night Live, but it was a fair amount of time.
He was a funny guy.
Ish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Deep thoughts.
See, and you're saying his name, and
he's the one that...
It would be better to see his face.
I'm smart enough.
I'm good enough.
I'm good enough.
Smart enough. And doggone it, people like me.
You don't remember that guy?
No.
I didn't watch it
but now
you
he's
guys
a senator.
do.
Now, and I hear that he's a decent senator, but,
Minnesota? Is that where is it?
Yeah, I believe so. Minnesota.
Yeah. Bill O'Reilly. That was another one.
What? No, I don't know if I heard about that one.
Yeah.
O'Reilly.
So he's over the last couple of years, he's had 6 different payouts, the largest of which was $32 million. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. They everybody's pulling their support. Mercedes just dropped their ads from his show.
And now is that a keep a hush hush, or is that we went to court and that's how much I'm having to pay out?
I think it's I don't know. That I don't know.
Because a lot of times with sexual harassment, it comes down to hearsay.
Yep.
And it's, your word against mine. Mm-hmm. How can you
if
prove
you
it unless you have
yeah.
pictures or videos or whatever?
That's one of the biggest problems with sexual harassment is the he said, she said kind of thing. It's hard to prove. But nowadays, it's become kind of like the scarlet letter.
What you did back in the 60s and 70s, you can't get away with nowadays, especially with technology.
Definitely not, no. Yeah. And the culture was a lot different. Can you imagine the whole JFK Marilyn Monroe thing? Can you imagine if that happened today? They'd be impeached immediately.
Right.
So, it kind of did with Monica Lewinsky and Bill Clinton, which is kind of throwback to that. So
there you go.
I think people
forgot about that.
People are revisiting that now.
A little more than sexual harassment.
Yeah. And George H.W. Bush. That one, I don't know how I feel about that one. That one, the gal, there's a couple gals that came out and they're like, well, he kind of touched my butt inappropriately. And the response was, he's in a wheelchair. It's not like he can put his arm around your shoulders. So his hand may have been near your rear, but I don't know.
That's a touchy subject.
It's funny because it's funny. There's Charlie Rose, who's a journalist. I don't know a whole lot about that one, but I've been hearing his name a lot lately. Roy Moore, who's the new Senate candidate down in Alabama. Alabama. Kevin Spacey.
Yes, Kevin Spacey.
Okay,
Yeah.
now
But
I know who that is.
I did hear that some of those might be dropped.
But that goes back to like 1983. I mean, which statute of limitations? I don't know what that. But anyway, I'm not like.
And his statement that he made, he's like, "Oh, because I'm gay." You know,
So-
it's like, wait, you know,
Yeah,
you can't
so-
just do that.
So for me, it was making that statement is like, okay, so you come out. Are you trying to deflect the blame by saying you were gay? Oh, it's okay because I'm gay. But then you look at it like, are you now saying that because this is like they're talking pedophilia here? They're talking like 14-year-olds. So are you just trying to perpetuate the wrong stereotype that gay people are all pedophiles?
Right.
I mean, that's
Right.
I don't
or
understand.
because you were confused at one point that
Yeah.
you were confused about everything.
And just to clarify, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying there is
No.
a stereotype out there
Right.
like that. So I just and I also preface that with an incorrect stereotype. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Both sides.
Yeah, Louis C.K. That's another one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was kind of a weird one. Who was the girl that came out and said some stuff about him?
Well, and then he went on Jon Stewart, and Jon Stewart point blank asked him if you did this, and he's like, no, nope. And then it came out,
Yeah.
no, he did. So
He said, she said.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's another. George Takei.
George? What?
Yeah.
Can I make a
He
point?
seems like such a nice guy.
You know, everyone that
Oh
we have
my.
talked
I follow him.
Do you really?
I need to unfollow him.
everyone that we have talked about so far has been a man.
Oh.
So, okay, Mariah Carey. How about that?
Oh.
That was my last one.
Boom. Tell me what
Well, I'm
Mariah
just
Carey
saying
did.
1 to 10 though.
There's
Yeah.
just people coming out, just like all
Yes,
the other
I will
actors.
agree that there is more sexual harassment of men to women than there is vice versa.
Or is it the fact that more women are speaking out about it, or that more females are more sensitive about it?
Right.
So here's the thing that I'm trying to wrap my head around. You only hear, when it comes to adults at least, you only hear about sexual harassment coming from guys to girls, usually.
Usually.
That's kind of the bulk of what it is.
99% of the time.
Right.
So, but when it comes to women as aggressors, the only time you really hear about that is teachers with students. Right?
Normally.
Well,
So
last Friday at the club,
mhm.
you know, I got my ass grabbed a couple times and people rubbed up on it and, you know.
Yeah.
So, like,
Yeah.
technically, that is sexual harassment. It is.
If it's
You know,
unwanted,
you're right.
It's
If it's
in the middle of a
unwanted, yeah.
party, you know, everybody's getting drunk and stuff, but still, I mean, it happened to me.
and you're probably like, hey.
Yeah, but
I just played it off. I'm like, whatever, you know, get out of here, you crazy
And
goose.
that's where I was saying maybe women are just more sensitive to
Yeah.
it than men are. I think men have an easier.
Hey, we're asking for it.
No, I just think that you guys have an easier time or whatever of just kind of brushing it off or dealing with it. You don't take it so personal.
Right. Yeah.
And in
that's true.
some cases, I think maybe even some men take it as flattery.
Oh yeah, I would totally agree with that. Totally agree with that. But my point to that was that's really the only time when it comes to women as aggressors. That's really the only time you hear about it. So, is it happening like you said, and guys aren't really saying anything about it, or is there something because there is precedence for women as aggressors?
Yeah.
But all you hear about is men as aggressors. And actually, I do want to read the definition really real quick as
Good old Wikipedia.
well, actually, so I took one off the internet, and then I have a friend of mine, Laura, Erika knows who that is.
Oh yeah, I talked to her today.
Yeah, so she gave me some talking points. She works for I don't want to say who she works
Yeah, I
for, but
wouldn't.
Yeah. She works for somebody.
she works in PR.
Perfect.
Okay. So she deals with these kind of things. So good PR, bad PR, she deals with it all.
Gotta
So
spin
she's
it.
yeah. So she's not into spin so much as mediation. I
Gotcha.
think is where she is.
Gotcha.
So anyway, she offered a slightly different definition. So I'm going to read like the one I got off the internet, and then I want to read hers because I liked hers a little bit better. But then I want to point something out to it, which makes it a little
Okay.
just caught my eye.
Yeah.
You have the floor.
Yep.
Yeah.
So the definition is harassment, typically of a woman, in a workplace or other profession or social situation involving the making of unwanted sexual advances or obscene remarks. That's kind of the plain vanilla sexual harassment. So hers, the one she sent me was, and I don't know if this is like in her training manual and it's a better version, or if she came up with it, it's better though. Sexual harassment is unwanted or unwelcome behavior of a sexual or genderized nature, generally involving some type of power dynamic, aggressor in a position of power. This power dynamic can be in the workplace, like we've seen recently in the media, in terms of fame or recognition, or honestly just because a male is the aggressor. Think about catcalling or other stranger behavior. So
sure.
The thing that we have already talked about the double standard. In the definitions, in both those definitions, they have men as the aggressors, women as the ones that are on the receiving end of sexual harassment. So, and I'm not saying that doesn't happen, and it probably happens more, or at least is talked about more in the public,
because like you were saying, men would be like, "Oh yeah, hey, I didn't know you. I didn't know you were into me. Cool,
So
whereas women, get kind of pissed off about it,
right?
It's annoying more
it just seems they're pinning it on men more. But yeah, that's such a double-edged sword there. I mean,
is. There's really no right or wrong there. There's really no. You can't, in a sense, summarize a definition for it.
Yeah.
Because there's so many different ways you can stray.
And the problem is you need a clear definition of it in order to have clear rules to protect it or to protect against it, I should say. So,
which why I think it makes it even harder, especially in a workplace.
Oh, absolutely. And I do want to talk about that about Hollywood too. But I did want to bring up, did you guys see about the payouts from Congress?
Yeah, and I heard that since the Congress was paying it out and not telling the people, big no-no.
Yeah. Now, it was
like
15.
They're using our taxpayer dollars to pay off people.
Hush money.
Oh.
So some people are probably going to go to jail.
Yeah.
I would hope.
And it's 15 to
hope.
I would hope.
It's $15 to $17 million, which is a lot of money. But this is over the last 10 years or so. 10 to 15 years. So about $1 million.
I wish I had $1 million.
Yeah, and from the senator representative Jackie Spire from California. She's the one that brought this out.
Spear, I believe.
Spear.
Yeah, she's the one that brought this out. And she said that she knows of two congressmen, like these were the main perpetrators of that $15 to $17 million. Were just these two guys. One's a Democrat, one's a Republican. So this is not a bipartisan or not a partisan issue.
Not
this is
just
bipartisan.
a Republican.
Yeah, this is
just Democrat.
Yeah, we don't need to get into politics in this because it's on both sides.
Yeah.
And if you think it's just the Republicans, well, most of Hollywood is liberal. So, I mean, it's going to be on the Democrat side too. So there is that. So even if it's Al Franken is Democrat. So
there you go.
I don't.
What's sad is that it keeps being hush money. Mm-hmm. Why don't you do something with that money that would be beneficial to that person to not keep that happening?
Yeah, well, and that's that. The problem is we've already got the environment of that. In politics, you have the power structure. You scratch my back, I'll scratch your back, kind of thing. And who do you go to?
Yeah.
With politics, other than going to the media, let's say an intern or an aide or whatever receives some unwanted sexual harassment. Well, it's sexual harassment. It is unwanted. But anyway, who do they go to? I mean, because their boss is the senator or representative, so they can't go to them. Can't go to the secretary because they work for that guy. So who do they go to?
Right.
Do they have access to somebody higher up in the Senate or House of Representatives that they go to? I don't know if there's a clear
Speaker
path
of the House.
Well, and who's to say that
do they have
person
access
isn't
to that person?
Right, and who's to say that the next person up isn't already covering for that person and knowing what's going on?
It's kind of like a club. They protect their own kind of thing. So same as in Hollywood. That's where I was going to go. In Hollywood, like with Harvey Weinstein, where do you go? I mean, you receive these unwanted advances from him, but he's the one producing them. Do you go to the director? Because I'm pretty sure the director's going to be like, he's kind of funding and bringing me the good talent. So,
you go to the cops?
Yeah,
I mean,
excuse me. It's so hard to bring that up because that's a leap. I mean, to go from unwanted behavior, because you have to let them know, that it's
this
unwanted.
is not what I want.
Yeah, because some people and the whole
but yeah, I mean,
thing.
if I worked somewhere, I would go to my boss. But what if it's your boss that's doing it?
Right. So you need a couple people at least.
Yeah, you'd go to the head of the corporation.
But in Hollywood, who is that? I mean, do you go to another producer? Do you go to the director? Do you go to because I don't think they have an HR department. Maybe they do. I don't know. I don't work in Hollywood, so
yeah, it could be a union thing. I don't know.
Can I make a side note real quick and
Sure.
show everyone how big these ice cubes are?
Oh yeah. When Sean was here, he had Britt hold one up to the camera because they're amazing.
I actually have bigger ones.
And can I note that your freezer is like my carb heavens?
Those got a lot of frozen dough.
Frozen in there.
Quiche.
Yeah, those are good. But no, I think it's lately what's been happening. Weinstein and Kevin, they both went to rehab. They went
for a week.
That's
for a week.
what I was saying. Those tax
I'm like,
dollars going to maybe something more beneficial.
That's kind of a cop out. It's kind of like, I'm better now because I went to rehab for a week and they really gave it to me.
That's something that needs to be ongoing and consistent.
Yeah.
Forever.
Yeah. It sounds it sounds nice, like they went to rehab, but it was
No.
You're gonna solve the predatory problems in a week?
Well, I guess what would be the punishment? I mean, yes, okay, cool, you went to rehab, but do you pay a fine? Do you serve jail time? For sexual harassment, what do you do? You're not robbing a bank. You're not stealing from somebody.
Well,
you're stealing somebody's
stealing innocence.
Innocence, yeah.
Now,
Confidence.
that's one of the problems of sexual harassment is you can't throw the blanket net out there and say all sexual harassment is completely horrible. It is, but I mean, you have to take it case by case. Did George H.W. Bush accidentally touch somebody's butt?
Maybe.
That's a lot different than what Harvey Weinstein's doing. You have Harvey Weinstein on one end of the spectrum, and you have all these microaggressions, such as catcalling or whistling or giving an inappropriate hug when they didn't want it, but you didn't know. Your intent could have been, hey, I'm a hugger. That person couldn't want to hug.
I'm serving jail time because I said something.
Well, I don't know that it goes that far, but unless you're a repeat offender, but
touching, that's a whole nother ballgame.
Yeah.
I mean, you're actually physically doing something, but when you actually verbally say something,
you gotta be so freaking careful nowadays. It's unbelievable.
Well, like I said, you just can't get away with things that you used to be able to
How about
day.
volunteer work or community
good
service?
Idea. I like that. That's smart. Put that on the solving the world's problems.
It's
there.
not necessarily in a sense of punishment, but it's also good for morals.
Yes.
What kind of community service or volunteer work or whatever? I mean, honestly, to fit the punishment,
feeding the hungry, picking up trash on the side of the interstate, cleaning out the poop at the zoo.
You sound like you know a lot about community service here. Have you had to?
No.
No? Okay. All right.
Actually, now I'm trying to question myself. I got an MIP when I was 16, 17, somewhere around in there. I'm pretty sure I had to do community service, but I think I did it through a church.
Oh.
I don't remember what it was, and I probably didn't do it all.
It stuck with you all these years. Just made an impact on you. Did it?
I do volunteer work now, so it's hard, to differentiate.
That brings up
Britt's like, now I, on the other hand.
It was funny because I may have taken a golf cart from a place and driven it across many roads to a bar, and I might have done that.
To a bar.
And so they found me because they've got little GPS trackers on all the golf carts and stuff,
which you didn't know about at the time.
And which I didn't know about at the time.
Yeah.
But anyway, they said, Britt, you're going to need to do some community service, and the community service is you're going to come back here the day after this big event, golf tournament, and you're going to pick up trash. And I'm like, okay, I did the crime. I'll push the time, all right? I get there and they give me keys to a golf cart. I'm like, what? I don't get this.
Yep.
But okay, all right. I'll go pick up the trash from every single hole.
Wow.
And yeah.
Would you have rather hauled around the trash can?
Well, I'm just kind of surprised I didn't make you walk it.
Yeah.
Well, these were big garbage cans. Like, it was tough
it's
for
full,
me.
Bring it back.
Yeah.
Well,
they have wheels on them? I mean,
no wheels. Big giant cardboard boxes that were full of trash.
Gotcha.
So, I mean, I needed a golf cart in order to do it. So, but it was just funny. So I take a golf cart and they're like, no, here's one. Go pick up trash. Whatever.
Right.
I did it.
So
sorry.
Let's talk
Didn't
a little.
mean to do that, but I did do that.
I'm bringing this train back on the tracks.
All right.
Do it. Let's go.
So besides Hollywood and politics, where else do you see this? I mean, I guess we can go everywhere, but there are some more.
I double dare you.
Ugh.
It just tasted like beer.
Ugh.
Yeah, it just tastes like beer. I thought I was gonna feel it, or I thought
Britt just drank the last little bit on his.
Yeah.
Just that's what's going on here. Just for the.
I need to take a picture and
I
post
thought it was
on
gonna be
your.
chunky,
Hold on,
but
let
it
me.
wasn't chunky at all. It
Where's-
just was
okay.
real smooth, just like drinking the rest of your beer.
Oh, sure.
I'm gonna take a picture of this and post it on your Drink Talk page. Can I post on your Drink Talk page?
You should be able. I don't think. Well, yeah, you can post it on the Drink Talk page, but you can't post it on the video.
Like you can't tag it. Yeah, you can't.
Yeah,
and you can't tag it. But so
No, that's a cool photo.
Nice.
See?
Did that work out?
That is
Yeah,
good
I got
photo.
all your everything in there.
Nice. That was awesome.
That's a good picture.
Yeah, thank you for social media and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about military is one I wanted to bring up, the sexual harassment, because it does happen in the military.
Well, I can only imagine a bunch of guys out on deployment for days, weeks,
and
months
girls.
on end, and then you've got the girls there. It's like, talk about it, Brian. You're the one in the military.
Yeah, you know.
Well, I hear my husband talk about
Sharp.
the videos and the tests and the training and
He wanted
constantly.
He wanted me to bring that up. He said and he's in the Army, and one of the Army has their own program called SHARP, which stands for Sexual Harassment, Assault, Response, and Training. So, you can look that up. You can just do U.S. Army SHARP if you want to look it up. But every branch has their own. When I went through, it was so bad. That's one of the problems of sexual harassment is these training videos that they show you from the 1980s
they're so cliche
and 90s
and just yeah.
So and I get what they're trying to do, but you would think that you would have better videos, especially with all the stuff going on right now. Do a YouTube search for like sexual harassment training videos, and A, you're not going to get a lot of them, and B, a lot of them have like 100 views.
Or they're
60
jokes.
Views. Yeah, or they're I showed Britt and Erika one before that seemed legit, but then like halfway through you're like, oh no, this is a joke. This is a joke.
Well, and it's the same way with kids learning about puberty and sex and all that in school.
Oh,
like those
right.
videos are from the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
Bring it up to speed.
Oh, yeah.
Why is it such an
apparently funding
weird subject for people
I'm
to
gonna
talk about?
Put it on pause, Brian. Do we do the next one, which is possibly a double IPA, or do we just go to the Kinky and drink the Kinky?
You had to make some kind of tie-in.
I had to.
He
You
showed
know?
me before.
Sexual harassment, Kinky. I think we should do this
All
next.
right.
And then we'll go back to the good
This will
beer.
be our palate
I'll
cleanser,
drink one
I
of
guess.
those.
Yeah.
As long as, what is it?
It's like is it like in a wine coolers or whatever? Is that the
Cocktail.
Yeah, it's a malt beverage.
Malt liquor?
A mischievous mix of watermelon and strawberry flavors. That's so good it's naughty.
Tomorrow's stories start now. Sexual harassment. And then do it now, laugh later. What is yours going to say?
I don't know. I dare you.
All right. Let's
He's
see
like,
here.
whatever.
It's about to get kinky.
Yeah, you don't really.
No, you don't.
That's
you don't
so
feel
weird
it.
to me. Like, it looks like a cement mixer.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, more power to you.
Mm-hmm.
More power to you.
I kind of like it from the standpoint
I'll
of
get a fresh cup.
like they
this one.
Thanks. They
We
say
go back to the other beer when we get that one.
they. I like the fact that it's just like, here's our beer, we made it. We're not going to filter it. Just it is what it is. I kind of dig that.
One thing I do
I
like about
understand
Clown Shoes, though, is they're always constantly brewing new and different beer.
The artwork.
And the artwork's amazing on it. But what I was saying, I was talking to Chris at Spirit World, and I was like,
you remembered?
Yeah, I was like, how come every time I come in here, which is like once a week or so, I can never.
Or so.
He's got the VIP
so.
card.
Yeah, no, well, it's that's where I get my beer and all that stuff because they've got a great variety. Don't get me wrong, I love Hy-Vee and they've got an awesome variety as well, but it's the same variety usually going through. Anyway, I was saying every time I go in, I can never find the same one again. He's like, yeah, they're always constantly brewing and churning out new beer, and that's what I love about that beer company. I was like, that's cool, I like it, But if you like something, you're like, oh, I like this.
Wow.
You better get it. Otherwise, it's going to be gone.
Yeah, and it's relatively new.
They do have a couple staple ones that are at Hy-Vee now that are constantly there. But the ones they stock there at Spirit World are always changing.
Speaking of Hy-Vee, did you see all the lines at Hy-Vee's? Because they had the every Black Friday, they release the Goose Island Stout, which is apparently extremely rare. And they even had some from last year, but like there's lines that form for this stuff, and some of the Hy-Vees were limiting to like 3 bottles of it. Yeah.
It was for the Clown Shoes?
No, this is not. No, this has nothing to do with Clown Shoes. This is Goose Island.
Oh, Goose. What?
Yeah.
It's not even that great.
Well, I've had some good, and I've had some. Goose Island, the brewery, is hit or miss with me. There's some really good beers that they have.
I was wondering why everybody was standing in line for what?
It was the Goose Island Stout that they. It's a barrel-aged stout that they have.
Yeah, well, they had 5 or 6, and
they limited some of them limited to 3 bottles.
Is that one of the same?
That is a Clown Shoes, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
I was like, because I was
the
looking
artwork on them is just amazing.
Yeah, and that's why I totally pointed that out. I mean, this is very Star Wars. This one I get with the Clown Shoes. I mean, he's riding a bike.
Yeah, there was a fairy one that we had, I thought.
Playing an electric guitar with a monkey on his back who is juggling.
Yeah,
it's somewhere.
We're running out of shelf space here.
We are running out of shelf space here.
We're going to have to clear it for season 2.
I know. I was telling Britt that the last time I was here probably would have been June. And I said, there's a lot more to look at than the last time I was here.
We're going to have like a trophy case.
Should we cheers?
Cheers.
Yeah, cheers.
Clinky to the kinky.
Well, I like how you did that. Oh my gosh.
Very sweet.
This is just
it's like Kool-Aid.
Like punch.
It's definitely like Kool-Aid.
It tastes like Kool-Aid.
Yep. With carbonation.
And then the aftertaste kicks in and you can taste the alcohol.
Yeah.
Very sweet.
Wow.
It's like a aspartame sweet.
It is literally Kool-Aid. Yeah. You put this in a kid's drink, they'd be like, oh, thanks for the Kool-Aid.
Can I see one of the bottles?
I'm going to go to sleep for 12 hours now.
Yeah. Kinky cocktails. Red premium malt beverage.
This is not what we had when we were in Minnesota.
This is 5%.
5%, hey.
ABV.
You know. No, I was down in the beer aisle at Hy-Vee, and Carly was wanting some beer for last night since she was having to stay home.
Sounds like a Starburst.
And I came across Kinky, and I'm like,
You're right.
Sexual harassment. Kinky. Interesting. Let's do that.
Yeah.
Glad I grabbed it. It's actually, I like it. It's it's like Kool-Aid.
Yeah, if you're wanting
it really tastes
sweet
like
beverage.
You melted down Starburst.
Or the the red popsicles. Or,
Yeah.
Well, story from Dad. He was down at. Where was he at? It was
a wine tasting down at like the
landing.
Yeah.
I can't think of the name of the landing though.
It's right by Rick's Boatyard there.
Yeah, and he goes down there and he's in line waiting to.
Rick's Boatyard.
It was Rick's Boatyard. Anyway, he was waiting in line to get his tickets and all that stuff, and he noticed this gal come up next to him, and she gets in front, and they're sampling wines, and she goes, "You got anything that tastes like Kool-Aid?" And my dad starts to chuckle a little bit, and she's all like, "What?" And he goes, "Well, hey, at least you know what you like."
Exactly.
Yeah.
If it doesn't taste like Kool-Aid, I don't want it. Yeah. This is, for me, it's almost a little too sweet. It's got that aspartame kind of sweetness to it. But like the flavor is, it's good flavor. It's a easy drinkability to it. but it's only 5%. So
Moses is chatting it up over here.
Is.
Yeah, he's like, I ain't gonna drink that fruit stuff.
Yeah, it's our palate cleanser, Moses.
Yes, that's what it is.
It's like our water
instead of coffee.
Yeah. So, back to the lecture at hand.
Yes, military.
So military. It is prevalent there. I mean, if you think about the roots of the military, it's kind of like a macho boys club is kind of what it started.
Well,
originally. I mean,
okay.
Yeah, I'm saying the roots of the military, and I don't. Yeah, today there's a lot of women in there, but you had those roots of the boys club, macho man, and you still have, elite classes or elite people in the military. Whew, caught that one.
Yeah.
Was that about on my phone?
No. Like I almost spilled, but I caught it. So, that are male dominated. That don't like special forces. They're starting to test the waters of letting women into that and all that, but it's still
women
a male
can do it too.
Right. It's a male dominated section or a male dominated portion of the military. And I think a lot of that has to do with the physicality of it. And I'm not saying there are no women that can handle the physicality of it. What I am saying is men and women are different when it comes to the physicalness.
Right.
I mean,
we're built differently.
Yeah, and that's okay.
Not that women can't achieve, being strong and
we had when I was in high school, we had a female on our football team, and I wouldn't want to meet her in a dark alley.
Did you really?
Yeah. One of the gals on our ship, she was a boatswain's mate. And boatswain's mate, that's hard work when you're a boatswain's mate. And, like, her forearms were like the size of my calves. I mean, she was just, like, she was the coolest person, but, like, you did not want to meet her in a dark alley. Holy cow. She was yeah. But that's not those are, like, the exception, not the rule.
Right.
Kind of thing. So there are women that I think can hack it. I mean, I had a movie about it. G.I. Jane, so it happens. But there again, sexual harassment happened in there. I mean, she was raped in there, so.
So, sorry, after listening to all this, do you think that women just get away with it more?
Because guys are...
And I'm not saying everything that we've talked about in the past.
It's not about getting away. It's the guys just are okay with it.
More receptive to
with
it.
it. They're like, oh.
You really think that's what it bottles?
I've actually been into you
boils
too.
down to. I mean, you got your sensitive guys out there who are, going to be offended by it.
Yeah. And I would say, okay, here's one for you. Is it sexual harassment if the guy's hot? I mean that. Yeah. I mean, but like if you're attracted to him, like that's.
Well, if you're talking to him or you're...
So, but that's the thing. Like, if one guy does it...
if it's being bounced back and forth...
Yeah.
And to a certain unspoken understanding, then it doesn't make a difference what they look like.
Well, but I've heard women say, like, if there's a creeper and they're hot, that's different than a creeper that's not.
I can understand how someone would say that. Yeah. Me personally, I don't care what you look like. If you come off creepy, it's creepy.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. And you could be the hottest guy in the room, and if you say something that creeps me out, it's like, oh, how full of yourself are you?
Yeah.
But some women would go,
kind of like guys, like Erika said earlier. I mean, it's kind of one of those. The guys they're more receptive to it, probably because they're flattered by it.
Well, and do you think that females maybe in certain cases, if there was a female to be seen as sexually harassing someone, do you also think that there's ever the fact that they have in the back of their mind that they can push it a little further?
Well, and that's the whole thing with the
and get away with it.
That's the whole thing with the unwanted. If you don't know it's unwanted, how do you know when to stop?
Or maybe they do know when to stop and they just choose not to.
That's yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you think there's a back and forth, and that's
what was that? What was
I just don't want to put this all on the men. Like, there are females out there too that are just as guilty of doing the same thing, but you have different circumstances because of the genders, and it's not 100% of the time, obviously.
There's always exceptions,
but how do you sit there and define something that may not feel like it's appropriate for everyone?
Right. And I don't want to discount anything that's been going on in the media at all, but it's almost kind of like a why now kind of thing, like you had mentioned earlier. Is it everybody jumping on the bandwagon? Is it because, well, somebody gave voice to it and I wish I would have had a voice, so I'm going to jump on, I'm going to go with that. Now that there is a bigger at large collective voice, right, I can add mine to it kind of thing. Is that
is, I think, what's happening right now in the media is, one person came out against Weinstein, and so then everybody's like, oh, we can talk about this? Yeah. It's cool?
Right.
Cool. Yeah, no, let's talk about this.
And it's so hard to keep up now. Like, there's so much going on right now. Like, every day it's something new. Well,
and that's why I said earlier that it's hard to, who do you believe? Mm-hmm. Because there's so many people all of a sudden coming out about it. And it's like, are you just jumping in there and being like, oh, I just made this up, but everyone else is saying it, so...
And with sexual harassment, you have to take it case by case, because each case is unique, each case is different, each situation is unique and different. So the Harvey Weinstein thing, that's a little different, just because it's so far extreme that it's like, okay, all right, but yeah, we kind of skipped over military a little bit and college campuses.
I feel bad. I should have talked to Eric a little bit more.
Well, yeah, he told me about the sharp thing, so I did mention that, and it does happen in the military. I'm not gonna lie. It's you got a bunch of guys that are trained, well, men and women. You got all this aggression.
Well,
already.
And especially with deployments, when they're stuck together and they rely on each other.
Oh, and the, people that have not been in the military have no idea just the connectedness that you have with people there. Like, you connect with these people for like lifelong bonds very quickly. And I still remember names of people that I went to boot camp with, and that was 2 months. That
right.
Really, 2 months of your life, and you still remember the name. Yeah, I still do.
And that too, especially from an outside perspective, if somebody sees, two people going about their business and having these conversations that other people may think is completely unacceptable.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just like, no, this is our normal. Like, this is how we joke with each other. Like,
oh, yeah. I'm sure that if people saw Eric and I out in town, they'd be like, oh,
they love each other.
Which we do, but it's like they'd take it a lot differently than that's one of those things.
Bromance at its finest.
Yeah, people in the military will totally understand that one.
Grant brought up a great
is he watching?
He's watching.
Hey, Grant.
He brought up a great point that does need to be brought up because we didn't bring it up. Bill Cosby.
Oh my goodness. I can't even believe I didn't even put him on the list.
Right?
And I even had Anthony Weiner in that one. Remember that one?
That one just makes me sad.
Anthony Weiner.
I know.
Oh my God.
That one to me was like, it's kind of like Dingman. I mean, what do you do with your life? Well, I'm going to fix cars because my last name's Dingman. Anthony Weiner, what are you going to do? I don't know. I'm going to send a dick pic.
I'm going to be a wiener.
either on YouTube or on Netflix. I can't remember where I was watching it. But it was Anthony Weiner running for office and then having to go through this sexual harassment thing.
Oh, yeah.
It was actually, I found it very interesting to watch. But yeah, you could see his wife, Umar Everdeen or whatever her name was. Isn't that what it was called?
I don't know.
Anyway, his wife, she was Hillary's right-hand gal. Anything Hillary needed to put together, it's Hillary's secretary, I guess you would say. And so all this was coming out, and she's just like, I gotta go. Like, I'm gonna go hang out with Hillary for a while. Sorry, see you later, dude.
Yep.
But yeah, I can't imagine how tough it would be to, go through a race politically and then still keep a marriage on top of that and top of keeping her job
for sure with
Clinton's. I was just like,
well, and I want to go back to Bill. I want to go back to Bill Cosby a little bit. We can kind of shoot over that one.
No, we don't. I want to talk about
because that one became so disturbing so quickly. Like, it was like, oh, hey,
because we all grew up watching him and playing with kids and
we quote a lot of his comedy all the time. I do it
all the time.
all the time.
Did it just 2 days ago.
Yeah. Yeah, we did it at, we had our second Thanksgiving Saturday, and we were totally doing the, Dad is great, give us chocolate cake. And now it's tainted. And it's like, dang it.
But it's still, his
Isn't that sad?
His comedy is different than him, groping women and touching women. It's two separate things.
But it's
still a person, but I mean, he's a funny man. I'm gonna still laugh at his jokes.
Well, and
don't get me wrong.
I kind of wonder. Remember, like Eddie Murphy today is completely different than Eddie Murphy back in the 80s.
Sure.
I mean, if you've seen Eddie Murphy Raw, go watch that, and then go watch Dr. Dolittle, and you're like, that's the same guy. Yeah, that's the same guy. He had a whole thing with against Bill Cosby, because Bill Cosby, when Eddie Murphy started coming out, approached Eddie Murphy and said, you can't be doing what you're doing. You're giving comedy a bad name, and then Eddie Murphy turned that into a whole shtick on his comedy. You can't be saying the filth, Lauren filth, and all that stuff. And if you listen to again Eddie Murphy Raw, there's a lot of things he talks about women in there, and you're like, oh my god. Nowadays looking back at that, you're like, holy crap. Whereas you look at Bill Cosby, and it was such family humor. Like, he didn't cuss. No. He didn't make fun of any one person individually, like because they were, mentally challenged or spoke a different language or whatever. He was just like situational family humor, which was great. And now this comes out, and Eddie Murphy, who was the one that was talking about all this other stuff.
I mean, I grew up watching his show, the Cosby Show. Everybody did.
Everybody did.
So
tainted. Dang it. Kind of like Kevin Spacey now too, for me. Because I really did. Kevin Spacey was great, and especially he had the House of Cards.
K-Pax, I loved K-Pax.
Oh, me too. That's
one of my favorite movies,
and it's one of the underrated films of his career. Yeah, that and American Beauty, which was a good one. But
now makes you think what's going on at American Beauty.
Yeah.
Was pretty much what he did to a boy.
Yeah,
a girl.
Yeah. Allegedly, these are all allegations now. Okay, so nothing has been other. I'm pretty sure that the Harvey Weinstein stuff that's completely legit, even though it hasn't been proven in a court of law. But other than I think of everybody on my list, Bill Cosby, that stuff's been going on in the court of law, so there is that, and Bill Clinton.
O'Reilly.
Bill O'Reilly, that stuff's been proven. But other than that, everything else is allegations now.
Yeah.
Right.
I did not know about Bill O'Reilly. I gotta check that out.
We talked about that earlier.
No. I just was reiterating the fact that I didn't know that was going on.
Yeah. $32 million for one of those payments.
Crazy.
Yeah. When he makes, I think he makes $25 million.
It's like
a year
shaking their hand and giving them a Christmas present.
Yeah.
I want to make $25 million a year.
Right.
No, it's
give
like
me that job.
Seriously, hush money. It's like, go on. Good job.
Mm-hmm.
Good job for what you did. Don't worry. We got money to back it up. You just keep going.
What's the thing? I don't know how much he was pulling in to warrant that kind of payout. He's got to be pulling in some serious cash.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just move on to the next person. We don't need anybody like that.
Yeah. We've skipped all around on my notes.
It's
so
okay.
I don't,
just pick one.
Yeah.
College campuses.
Oh yeah. Okay. Thank you, Erika.
Mm-hmm.
We were actually going to talk about that.
Yeah.
We
So
went off on a tangent.
That was one of those things that Laura brought up with me. It's kind of like a look at what happens on college campuses as far as sexual harassment and rape and all that.
Well, now they got these things you can run and go push a button, and it's like
Yeah. I remember,
which makes you feel safer.
Yeah. I remember when Erika went to college and you were going to Lincoln. And I gave you that Maglite flashlight. I think it was a 4D.
I still have it.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Because I love those because A, they're bright as hell, and two,
you can use it as a weapon.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, I mean, if it would have had a taser on the end,
Safety Sal kept me safe.
Safety Sal, yeah, the Safety Salamander. Heck yeah. That's wow.
I still have that too.
Do you really? Nice. Nice. For those of you in the listening audience, Safety Sal was this leather. It was kind of like a Beanie Baby, but it was made of leather. And
it wasn't even like a Beanie Baby. It was just this flat, like
black salamander made of leather.
It was brown.
Was it brown?
Yep.
I thought it was black. Okay.
Nope.
Black car.
Yeah,
brown salamander.
Yeah, it was inside of my Monte Carlo, and I had him on the dashboard, and And I always joke that it was Safety Sal, the safety salamander, and anytime I slammed on the brakes, he would throw himself against the windshield just in case you happened to go towards the windshield. He would throw himself up there so you wouldn't hit the windshield.
That's hilarious. I want a Safety Sal.
Man. I can't believe you still have him.
I do.
That's great.
Yep. Yep.
Anyway, college campuses.
Yeah, so it's kind of like a ripe breeding ground of sexual harassment and all that, because kids are experimenting with alcohol. I know they are nowadays in high school.
Away from mom and dad.
Yeah, they're away from home and away from all that protection and going to these parties, getting drunk, and maybe experimenting with drugs, and got all this freedom, and your hormones are pumping, and and look how campuses deal with that. Also, that's the flip side of that makes it even worse. That makes it the breeding ground is the way that these people. What was the one recently where the guy ended up raping an unconscious girl, and he basically got a slap on the wrist because he was
a
football. He was sports of some kind. I don't know if it was football, but
I think it was
just
a
slapped him
player.
on the wrist. That's what you said.
It was either football or basketball.
Yeah, it was one of the bigger sports on campus, and I don't remember his exact punishment, but it did not fit what he
should have gotten.
Exactly. So that's a whole nother thing is the sports aspect.
Well, and it's
too.
not even with the students either. It's also with the teachers.
Right.
You got a lot of those professors who, fresh meat, like coming in completely clueless and innocent, and they take advantage of that.
Oh yeah. Well, and looking back, there's a lot of movies that talk
Better
about
grades.
Yeah. There's a lot of movies that talk about that. Though the professor that sleeps with a lot of his students and all that, and back in the 80s and 90s, it just happened, and so people just kind of look the other way. And nowadays, you look back and you're like, oh my God, why did we accept that? Same as again, the JFK era thing.
Yeah.
So with Marilyn Monroe. So that which is one of my wife's favorites. That's she loves that era and finds it very fascinating.
I shared it on my page, so you have new friends.
Oh, nice. No, that's awesome. I'm on to my next beer.
Okay,
That's what I'm going to do.
I'm still cleansing my palate with some malt liquor.
I've been trying to go back and forth because this is getting heavy.
I'll pour and I'll wait.
It's getting like syrup.
Yeah, I wanted to take it down quick. I wanted to get at least 3 drinks in on the show because we are hitting up.
We're at an hour. We're in an hour right now.
Already?
Yeah.
Wow.
Goes quick when you're having fun, right?
It does tell me the time. I got to click on it.
So on top of college campuses, the obvious one is the workplace, sexual harassment in the workplace.
Right.
So which
is probably going to happen. That's where it happens the most because. Frankly, you're spending all day at work, so
yeah. You probably spend more time at work with those people than you do with your own family.
Yeah.
At least during the week, anyway.
You're not going to have sexual harassment in your family. I hope not.
I don't know. That brings up another. That's a whole other topic.
As I sit here with my brothers,
right?
This is going to get awkward really
and
quick.
The banjo just started playing.
If only you heard the conversation before we started.
Right?
Yeah.
So
what's this? Now that we're kind of on a break.
Yeah, now we're going on to the next one. Ska Brewing Company out of Durango, Colorado. This is the BHC DIPA, DIPA. DIPA?
DIPA.
This is the double IPA. This has crazy amounts of hops in it. I don't know what the alcohol content is on it because
on the side.
It's not there. Oh, 8% right there. But handcrafted. 8%. Andy and Sarah, they dropped their kid off last night with Carly and brought a 6-pack with them, and this was what they brought. I liked it so much, I went out and bought another for our show. So.
Huh. Can I see it?
Yeah.
The can. Oh.
Gotcha.
Bada bing, bada boom.
I got you.
I got you covered.
Too many
acronyms and too many hops.
Yeah.
Pinced.
But I like their Ska Brewing Company. They've got the racing stripes. It's the black and white. A lot of people would say it's kind of Illuminati style. But
checkered?
Yeah, the checkered flag. You never heard about that?
No.
Checkered floor.
So
that's another
Illuminati?
day.
No.
Oh,
so yeah, that's a whole nother ballgame.
lip up, fatty.
That's what it says on the can.
Lip up, fatty.
Yeah, it says on the can.
Nice.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, check out Checkerboard and Illuminati. It's a big thing.
Weird.
Well, if you see like award ceremonies and stuff like that, from time to time there'll be checkerboard floors, and you're like,
Well, that was kind of the
black
whole
and white checkerboard.
That was kind of the whole thing with like the.
I have no idea what the meaning behind it is.
The Illuminati hand signal for the devil or whatever it was. It's like
Rock on.
Or Longhorns, because a lot of the people that they were showing were like the bushes from.
Drink that and get it going.
Yeah, I move my hands so much. I don't know what to do with my hands.
Well, just like
like Italian. I think I'm Italian. I just
so for Thanksgiving, we all drew our hand, and on our hand we wrote what we were thankful for, and Mom created a tree of hands.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Well, Aunt Sandy, she did this. She did an okay.
Did she really?
She did an okay. And I said, Sandy, what are you doing? The 666? She's like, it's an okay. And she's like, what's the 666? I'm like, 666? The devil? And she's like, I did not do that. That's an okay symbol.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, no, that's 666.
It's funny that you were talking about being Italian. We convinced Kyle at one point that Dad was part of the mafia.
Oh yeah, I remember
he
that.
was Italian.
I do remember.
Not
Eric
that all
told me
Italians are part of a mafia. Don't get me wrong. I'm just
Right.
saying.
With that said,
For a very long time.
on to our last and final
The
day.
Ska Brewing Company.
The Ska Brewing Company. The BHC.
Thank you.
Hey,
You can't really clinky with your glass.
I know. I still support the Huskers. Just gonna put that out there. No comment.
Very well done, right?
I'm sorry. I'm thinking. Yeah,
Tasting the beer.
that's a whole nother topic. Like what's going? Like that. Seriously, that's
Fair
like
enough.
the very very hurtful topic right now here in Nebraska.
Yeah. The frost is coming.
Oh, that's rumor.
That's rumor. It's rumor.
We
Yep.
won't find out till probably.
Fake news.
I'm gonna say the first week of January.
Oh well,
For
yeah,
sure.
It's a hot and heavy thing. I'm sure they'll give him a blank check to come here, but
I gotta when we get done, I got this video I gotta show you.
all right, cool. So we did college campuses, workplace. We were kind of getting into that.
Kind of.
of.
That stuff too. It's not just employee to employee. It's also bosses to
It's any
employees.
Well, yeah, because it's a person in a position of power. Yeah, for sure.
I agree. I really, really do.
So how are we solving this?
Yeah.
What are we doing to solve this?
Yeah,
I mean, educate the kids for sure. For one, get it in them young. That way they retain it, and hopefully this doesn't happen in the future. So that'd be one way of doing it. Education.
Oh man, I
Hey-o.
apologize for coughing into the microphone.
Yeah,
That
that's
just
all right.
came on. That
Hey-o.
surprised me.
So quick.
For me, yeah, the not only good but like better training videos would be, update those, and then I think
you said the last training video you saw was like the 80s or something. like that.
well, I mean they have newer ones, but
Hey.
they're still pretty old.
Idea. Let's come up with some new training videos.
There we go.
We could be millionaires.
yeah.
Ta.
Or be those weird people that do training videos.
If
We're already weird people. It's
if
okay.
I was gonna film a training video, I'd make it look like it was filmed in the 70s or 80s, and like do that weird music and then like
That's the problem.
piecing it together, But no, that's the way I do it though. Just,
Like the music from Shaft.
yeah, just the way
That's the problem.
No, but what I would say is like, because we talked college campuses here, but I would even go back further. I don't know. I do remember seeing like sexual harassment training videos, and I want to say I was in high school, but I think we need to go back even further now because
in high school, I don't remember them doing anything about sexual harassment.
Well, I don't know if it was school,
maybe during
like,
sex ed, they may have showed a video or something like that about sexual harassment, but I cannot recall.
Well, and I don't know if it was because of work. Like, I don't know if I saw, because I was, when you're in high school, you start working a job, and I don't know if I saw a training video there or if it was at school. Or, I don't remember. I remember seeing one in high school, but I don't remember like the premise of it. It really struck a chord with me. Apparently,
Back when I worked for Sears, you spent an entire week training. You were on a computer in the back. You were learning how to work the computer system that we have, and you learned about
policies, procedures.
Yeah. And one of them was I had to take a quick quiz on sexual harassment. Granted, it was only 5 or 6 minutes.
Is this sexual harassment?
Yeah, is this or this or this? It's like no, yes, no, yes. But yeah, that's all I did. It was just this little 5-minute thing, Q&A kind of thing that I did. But yeah, it's just not really talked about.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think that it needs to become something that is a regular, just like bullying now with kids is a big topic with them. And I think that those, in a sense, kind of go hand in hand. So why not?
You can use bullying in order to lead into sexual harassment.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. I think they can kind of go hand in hand and lead into each other. And I think that, they're learning about bullying in kindergarten. But I mean, if they start, a lot of times, now junior high is 6th through 8th rather than just 7th and 8th. So if they're learning about sexual harassment, maybe in, say, 5th grade, right before they go into junior high, because I really think that that's the age where it's either going to start or stop.
Yeah. Well, in 5th, looking back, 5th grade, I retained a lot of information, and I can remember retaining that information. I can't remember information about 3rd grade, I'm like...
Well, and I'm just saying with junior high
cursive?
Kids, they're already going through that weird hormonal stage and trying to figure out what's okay and what's not okay and what hurts my feelings and what doesn't and what makes me feel uncomfortable and what doesn't. And I think that that's something that needs to be implemented into the sex ed classes and the bullying education and the programs that they have with DARE and things like that. I think that it just needs to become a normal rather than being something that seems so uncomfortable, because why does sexual harassment seem to be something that's so uncomfortable for people to talk about, but yet it's okay, we can talk about bullying just fine. We can talk about drugs and sex perfectly fine.
Probably why we're having a problem with sexual harassment.
Yeah. I agree.
Because there's
a stigma. And the programming on TV.
It is a hard topic, even though drugs and alcohol are hard topics. But
do you feel it's because they're more defined?
Yeah, there's clear definitions.
Okay.
If you're not 21, you can't drink. I mean, that's clear definition right there. Experimenting with alcohol or drugs, illegal in almost every state. So, clear definitions. But yeah, sexual harassment. A lot of it, and I don't want to say leaves it up to interpretation, but there's intent and then there's perception by the receiving party. So if you can't coming up with a clear definition on that parameter is really difficult. You can look at something and say, yeah, that's sexual harassment, but
you also don't want it to become like The Boy Who Cried Wolf either.
Right. And depending on the parties, one person will be like, whatever, I don't care. Or there's, no, yeah, I did not want that at all. So it just depends. There's so many ifs and it's really hard. You can put a clear definition on it, but then it depends on the parties involved.
Right.
So
some people are offended by it and some aren't.
Well, yeah.
But if you just drew just maybe even a couple, not necessarily ground rules, but I mean guidelines in a sense of, if you take it to this extreme majority of the time, or, these certain words would maybe flicker some type of, I mean, I get it. It would have to be taught differently everywhere, but that goes back to the training videos and all of that. And that's because they're so old, nobody knows what to do with them anymore.
Right, absolutely.
Moses kind of pointed out as well, music videos. I mean, they're just super sexual in nature. Just, I mean, if you...
Oh, not even music videos, like dance recitals. Holy cow. With, Erika's daughter in the and we're not going to mention any names here, but the previous
studio.
Yeah, the previous studio she was dancing for. It's like a lot of these dance moves that they're doing straight out of music videos, and you're like, that I don't want my 8-year-old niece doing this. Seriously, yeah. Holy cow.
Yeah,
for sure.
Well, and it wasn't just hers.
No,
it was also If you
it's not her. No,
no. But I'm saying, like, if you thought that her last studio was like that, you should have seen my stepdaughter's studio.
Oh, really?
Even more.
That made me uncomfortable.
Wow.
And I've been a dancer since I was 2, and her recitals made me uncomfortable.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. To the point where, like, I didn't even want to bring.
That's a whole nother, like, sexualizing of youth. I mean, that is such that's a whole nother
topic. Take away their innocence and just.
I did want to bring up something we didn't when we talked about workplace. Something I did not bring up, and I wanted to, and so I'm going to go back a little bit here. Service industry, huge problem with sexual harassment. If you work at a bar or a restaurant, yeah.
Because you kind of have to let things go. Like, I think service industry straight away. I think bartending.
Oh, yeah.
And you want that tip.
Yeah.
How far will you let it go?
Yep.
And then you don't also want to get to that point where it's like you piss them off, and then it's like, oh, but I went this far and I had that tip, and now it's gone.
Yeah, I just died a little inside.
Yeah.
Yep. So
it's demeaning.
It is, and that's part of the culture of working at a bar. You deal with drunk people, and you gotta
Britt DJing. I said at the beginning of the show.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you know how many times you have your butt grabbed?
Yeah.
So, it definitely is very much prevalent. More in this service industry. It's surely,
she just jumped on.
Nice.
Yeah, right. Right as we're talking about that. Thanks, bro.
Anytime,
I just thought I'd throw that out there.
Anytime. It's so hard to go back to doing the clear definitions and all that stuff when it has to be a case by case thing, and it has to be the parties involved, and you can say this is sexual harassment, but if both parties are like, whatever, I mean, not a big deal.
Then it's not sexual harassment.
Yeah, then what's the big deal? Yeah. So it's
well,
so
and then
tough.
That's where it goes into, like, all these cases that you guys are bringing up. At the time it could have been, no big deal.
Yeah, well, they really wanted to get that part.
Oh wait, now I can get some hush money, or now I can go to court and get some money.
Yeah.
I think that maybe I can switch this a little bit.
It's like the
and
new
that's
lottery.
what I say, where it goes into hearsay.
Mm-hmm.
And how do you prove that? And then I think that's where the hush money comes in, because they just don't even want to deal with that.
Right, because if you bring an allegation, let's just use Bill O'Reilly because he was doing the payouts. Let's just use him. Even if the whole thing was 100% fabricated, and the person was like, yeah, I know it's fabricated, but if I go to the media and tarnish your image a little bit, and you're not going to get those ad revenue dollars, that's reason to pay them. It could be 100% fabricated. You know it, they know it, but because they brought these accusations up, they're going to get some hush money out of it. Yeah, it's like the new lottery.
Yeah.
It's terrible. It's
terrible.
Agree.
No, I totally agree with that. Absolutely. And that's
making it harder for the rest of the people that are legitimately doing this.
Right. And that makes it also harder to teach our youth.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Sorry, I'm noticing my nose has a little whistle to it. Your music has a whistle to it, but my nose has a whistle to it. I'm like, I got to back away from this mic while I'm breathing.
Just hold your breath for the rest of the podcast.
Sorry, little side note there.
Yeah,
sorry.
Hold your breath. There's no easy fix. It's going to come down to like a societal change. Really is ultimately what this has to be, because
it's tough to change human behavior. Yes, you can go to rehab all you want, but that person's still going to think the way they think.
Right, but we've seen a shift. We've spent some time talking about the JFK era and the Bill Clinton era, and now today, and we're seeing a shift, and people are not tolerating it at all. So the societal change has already begun. It's just a matter of what's the next evolution after this.
Here's my perspective on this. Honestly, I don't see it getting better. I do see it getting worse, and it's because of social media.
Oh, because you know everything about everybody. Yeah, for sure. It's
and you
with
say,
technology, with Snapchat.
Well, and because you can say anything. Granted, you say it on the internet, it's always on the internet.
Yep.
So it's easier to, in a sense, leave that paper trail. But how many cases do you actually see where people are pulling stuff off of the internet, being like, "Oh, look, I have proof."
In 5-10 years from now,
must be true.
It could be.
In 5-10 years from now, that will be the new norm, though. Is they're pulling it off the internet. Right now, it's so new.
I wouldn't say it's new. I would just say that.
I mean, what was Facebook? 2008.
Yeah, roughly.
No.
7.
6.
Was it?
Whatever. It was. It's still only 10 years old. You know, it's still new, essentially.
Yeah. I see it being brushed under the rug because people tend to do that with social media. You know? It's not really coming out of their mouths, it's coming out of their fingers.
And you can be somewhat anonymous on it and throw out the...
You can make fake profiles.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Uh-huh.
Kind of with what's going on with bullying. Back to the bullying. Yeah, for sure.
So, yeah. It's you got to get somebody... you got to get in front of them before it happens. So with that said, you have to do it at a young age.
Yeah, which brings me back to getting the training back, not in college and not in high school, but more like middle school.
Like 5th, 6th grade.
Yeah. Late.
Just to get that idea into their head, just to make them understand what it even is.
But then we start. That's a whole nother thing. Like the sex ed courses. It's like we have to keep going younger and younger and younger because they're doing that younger. We're talking sexual harassment, so
right. No, I don't know that we're necessarily going younger and younger.
No, but
I still think it's junior high age.
I know, but
and that's when it was when I was younger.
What they did?
Well,
what was that? Didn't they do like the 4th grade? There was that 4th or 5th.
Kai never told me anything about anything that they.
I remember that when we were growing up. It wasn't like sex ed, but it was like the beginnings of, talking about the differences between men and women and.
Oh, did we do that on the stage?
I didn't. I was in
Jocelyn.
I was in the library.
Did we do that on the stage?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, maybe I do vaguely remember that.
Yeah, but anyway, it's like taking a little bit of their innocence away.
I agree.
Talking about the sexual harassment stuff, and it's just like,
But then that goes into parenting and what other kids have learned from their parents and heard and all that.
And if we don't get them early,
right?
Yeah.
If one kid's hearing one thing, then you have to get to the other kid to hear that too. I know it's an endless.
Well, and if you let your kids on the internet, I mean, you have to have those discussions early too.
Yeah, pop-ups.
Yeah. Great. All right, I think we're winding down on this one, and we're gonna cut it. Yeah, there's no easy solution other than like societal change, and I would go back to our one of our big guest hosts, Mike, and his number one rule in life: don't be a dick.
Right. Well, hopefully with all this stuff coming to light in the news, is kind of re-educating people. Like, don't do that. Mm-hmm. Don't do that because you're gonna get caught. So stop it. Stop it.
And I'd like to hear, outsiders' perspective too. If people are viewing, especially on Facebook Live, where they can, respond even after live is over. What other people think maybe something that could help solve or just help and aid more or less into making it easier for people to understand or make it a little more sensitive for everyone. Well,
and with all this media attention right now, it's bringing it to the forefront. Everybody's getting, and the more people that know about it, the more change can happen. Right. So, and that's what we're seeing. So I would say we're in the beginning process of starting to see a change,
which is good.
I wouldn't say well on the way, but we are on our way to a change.
We're well on our way because women are coming out and not feeling that they need to hide this anymore, which is great. That's
true. They have a voice. Mm-hmm. So that's a good point. That they don't need to hide in the shadows or just take it or suck it up. They can actually have a voice in it. And
I totally don't want to start on a completely different subject, but I mean, that kind of, as you guys say that, makes me think of, women talking about rape as well.
Oh, yeah, which is the extreme of sexual harassment.
Right, but we think that we've made such a progression forward, but we really haven't. Mm-hmm. It's just become something that's sadly more popular. Yeah. And not necessarily more popular than it was, but people talk about it more. And talk is talk.
Right. Yep.
That doesn't mean that actions are being made. So.
Fair point.
Sorry, I don't want to leave that on like a low note.
No, that's all right. Yeah, well, it was a hard topic to talk about. So trying to keep it as lighthearted as possible is tough to do. Mm-hmm. But we appreciate you for joining us this evening. And this has been an episode of Drink Talk.
Yep.
We've been talking on sexual harassment. Woohoo. Awesome topic.
But I think we conquered it. I think we did a great talk on that.
Yeah,
I'm glad we could get a woman's perspective of view on this show. So thanks for coming, Erika.
Just a little bit.
I hope that we did some justice to the topic. I mean, I know that we're kind of a show that brings these hard topics to light sometimes, but it's hard to remain lighthearted on this.
Right.
It's such a serious topic.
Mm-hmm. So we did laugh a few times. So
we did. We had some jokes in there. So we have been drinking on some Clown Shoes, some Ska Brewing, and the Kinky.
And Captain and Zevia.
Oh yeah, we never did talk about your drink at all on this. Erika never does our drink; she does her own thing.
Hey, she did a Kinky with us, so
I did.
True.
I choked that one down.
Very true. But
it was literally high C punch.
Again, thank you for joining us, and tune in next week. I'm not sure what the topic's going to be, but it's going to be a lot more lighthearted than it was.
Yes, it'll be a lot better, that's for sure.
A lot easier to do. Yeah, my name's Brian.
I'm Britt.
Erika.
And thanks for joining us.
All right. Facebook Nation, have a good night out there. Be safe.
What? No,
you're
good. You're good.
My mom-in-law. She's on now, too.
Mom-in-law. Oh,
hi, mom-in-law.
Hi, bye.
Hi, bye.